but I think it's really hard to still create and find friendships. As an adult, right? In general, it's really
Mm-hmm.
hard to make friends. I think that it's also really hard to make friends here unless you've met them at work or unless you are their neighbor and they see you and they make the first step of wanting to make a conversation with you. So I think that if you're an open person and you're someone that talks like an extrovert, I feel like
Yes.
it's going to be easy for you. But if you're an introvert, then I think it can be tough if you don't put yourself out there.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Base Buddies podcast. Today we have a very special guest. We have Miss Julia here. She is currently in Whidbey Island, and she is, of course, married to a service members in the Navy, and she's part of the LGBTQ plus community. Hi, Julia. How are you?
Hi, good. You?
I'm doing great. So tell me more about yourself. Who are you?
Well, my name's Julia. I'm 29 and I am here at Whidbey Island. We've been here for 3 years and we recently got stationed here again for another four
My
years.
God, that's crazy. You guys wanted it that though, right?
Yeah, no, we
Yeah.
liked it here. We like
I,
it here.
whenever, my Dom and I were over there, we liked the weather. We just didn't like how everything was just so far away. But I guess like
Yeah,
you get used to that though. And there's so many things over there that are like getting built and stuff. So it's kind of getting urbanized,
yeah,
right?
yeah, no, it's definitely changing slowly, but the reason why we liked it or we wanted to stay here was because of the school for my kid. So
Oh,
give him
right.
stability.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, especially in like in being in the military aspect. Stability is kind of hard to come by whenever you guys move around or whenever we move around every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think that's the biggest thing. Being with a service member and then also my dad was in the Navy as well. So like I moved every 2, 3 years. And
Hmm.
so it's really nice to be able to stay here for longer than that for him,
Yeah,
for my son.
absolutely. So, how did you and your spouse meet?
We met on an app. We met on a LGBTQ plus dating app.
It's okay, girl. We met on Tinder. My husband and I.
I feel like that's the normal. No one like I think it's very rare when you meet someone out in public and then like that's the person you end up marrying.
Exactly. That it's so rare to meet somebody organically nowadays.
I know it's it kind of sucks, but it's like it's whatever, like the thing is like at the end of the day, like you met someone that you love and that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys met on the app, you guys decided to meet, and when did you guys like decided to like take it serious and then how did they propose?
Well, I feel like there's a huge stigma around like people that are in the community, in the LGBTQ
Mm.
plus community, that they move really fast
Oh,
in getting married. It's one of the biggest things. So yeah, we definitely fit that box. So like on top of it being military, like the stigma around people that are military that they like get married really quickly. We
mm-hmm.
we have the double whammy with like being a lesbian.
Yeah.
So we got married really fast. I want to say it took us like about 5 to 6 months of dating, and then we were like, we want to get married because we love each other, but also it was super important because my spouse at the time was going on deployment, and
Hmm.
so one of the biggest things is that if you aren't married to that person, if anything happens to them, you wouldn't be their point of contact. It would have to be their parent or whoever they put down. It has to be
Right.
someone family related. So I think that was one of the biggest things that pushed us to get married a little bit faster than we would have anticipated.
No, that makes sense, girl. Dominic and I got married like 6 months in, so don't even worry about it. That's kind of
Okay,
like,
it's even the
yeah,
same.
it wasn't. It's not that bad. That's kind of like the normal in this like military life thing. What was your first impression of military life when you joined this world?
I want to say, like I mentioned before, my dad was in the Navy, so I was already used to like
Used
the
to it.
community in itself. Yeah, but I swore I never wanted to get married to someone who was in the service because that literally was what I was like doing, going through as a child and as a teen. And I was like, I'm never gonna marry someone in the military. And then like it just happened. So I feel like I've already had that experience and like the knowledge of like what to expect.
So you were kind of just, okay, I've been through this before, So I already know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. It's definitely a different level. So I think that that still takes some used to like getting used to because it's a different level,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like as a kid, I was able to see it as a kid's perspective growing
Mm-hmm.
up, but now as a person that's the spouse, it's definitely a different perspective in the matter of like there's a lot, obviously a lot more responsibilities
Of course.
that you're handed.
No, that makes sense. So how is it raising? I know that you have a son. How
Yeah.
is it raising your son now that you kind of changed perspectives? You were you were your son at one point in your life, and now you're the
Yeah.
spouse. So how is it in that aspect?
I feel like I'm able to comprehend the feelings and the emotions of starting in a new school, moving, and being trying to create new friendships, but also that those friendships don't always last as a kid. And I think that that at least it was different. I feel like it can be similar, but also different because, you know, my son's a boy and I'm a girl, so it's a little bit different in some of those things on how they react to things compared to, you know, to every individual. So I think that I'm able to understand how it might be hurtful when you create a bond with a friend, like for instance with me and you, and like
Yeah,
when they have to move, you know, it's very heartbreaking. But as a kid, it's like you really never have the chance to see that person ever again. And
right.
so I feel like I'm able to connect and understand those small things that maybe other parents don't understand
Hmm.
or spouses don't understand because if they haven't come from that background, it's you know, you don't really get to have that advantage.
Oh, that makes sense, especially with, like you mentioned, like being a kid, you really don't have, like, depending on how old you are, right? You don't really
Yeah.
have the means to communicate with the friends that you made in the prior base because either you don't have a phone, you don't have social media or anything along those lines. You're just a
Yeah.
kid. So you never truly get to see them again until you
Mhm.
get to that age to where you can reconnect, if you by any chance remember, you know?
And even to the level of like when I had friends at like middle school, high school level, it was still even hard because, you know, we've changed as people. Like, you know, we just
Yeah.
evolved. And so sometimes you would have been really close with that person. And it's happened, at least in my point, where I was really close with a couple of friends in high school, middle school, and then I had to leave. We had to go overseas and then we came back. And those people that I was expecting to be friends with still were completely different. Like they didn't want to be my friend or they changed and the people that they hung out with. So I think it's really tough, like as a
Mm.
spouse and as a kid that is involved being in the military or affiliated with the military.
How has it been like being a military spouse in the LGBTQ plus community?
I was very scared and nervous when we first got married because growing up, you know, it still wasn't allowed. So there wasn't
Yeah.
many people growing up that I knew that were in the community. Like when my dad was in, I don't even think I recall anyone of people that he came across that were
Hmm.
gay. But I think that it was very nerve-wracking and yeah, I think it was very nerve-wracking and it gave me anxiety because I'm like, you
Yeah.
know, there's a lot of people that you come across that are not a part of the community
Hmm.
and so I feel like I've had the fear of where I'm like, okay, maybe they might not like me because I don't understand them, or they think that just because my spouse looks mask presenting, that they think, oh, well, automatically she'll be with the husband and then I'll just be with the
Hmm.
wife. So it's very scary. But I feel like now from being here away from San Diego, there is a lot of people in the community. There's
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of at least I've seen a
Hmm.
lot of lesbians and I've also seen a lot of gay men
Yeah.
relationships. So it's really cool to see.
So that surprised you, essentially.
It did. It did. It surprised me big time.
That's crazy. Well, I'm so glad that you feel comfortable in the vicinity of that. And I'm glad that that surprised you. I know that a lot of people tend to be, like you said, scared of new situations and new things, especially moving
Mhm.
from San Diego to a new state with this new life with your son. So that's gotta be, I could only
Yeah.
imagine. Do you think the military has become more inclusive throughout the years?
I think it definitely has. I think that it's not the same as what it used to be and it's for good things. I definitely think that it's for a good reason, and I hope that it continues that way.
Okay, that's amazing. So I know that whenever I was over there, I know that we got to talking about how sometimes I guess the family dynamics can be a little bit different. So how do
Mhm.
you handle the family dynamics, I guess, being looked as different in, I guess, school or whenever you go to events or whenever you see your spouse? How do you feel when it comes to that?
In the form of being gay or in the form
Mhm.
of like, yeah.
Both.
Yes, I think it can be because this is such a military town. I feel like it's never odd or you don't feel weirded out or left out just
Good.
because you're dating or like you're married to someone in the military. I think that it's very different if you're living in like a bigger city because, there's such a different diversity. It's so
Yeah.
diverse where you're going to have people where they see you as someone who's affiliated with the military and they're just like, oh wow, like, that's crazy, or they ask you a bunch of questions.
Hmm.
But here being such a small town and everyone's military, like 98% of everyone here is
Yeah.
military.
Yeah.
Everyone is kind of like I'm gonna say like they're pretty welcoming and they're
That's
very
amazing.
understandable. And even as two women, they have been very respectful and very open to us. I have yet, knock on wood, had to experience something like negative.
That's
And
good.
I think that you come in kind of like nervous, like I said before, like you come in very nervous thinking like that like people are gonna judge you and things like that. But it was the complete opposite. Even with my
Mm.
son's teacher, like with us being two females, they have been very respectful and I think that's awesome.
That's amazing. I'm so glad. So, what advice would you give to other people in the same situation as you, like being part of the LGBTQ communities that are spouses who are just starting this journey?
I think that just going with a positive mindset,
Yeah.
and if you see another fellow like family members that are also from the community, reach out to them because I feel like we are very shy. I see so many lesbian couples and they don't like it's like we look at each other and we're like we know we're both gay, but then they don't come up to us and I'm just like, "Ugh, I wish you guys would," or but I guess like I also have to make that initiative too,
Yeah.
but it'd be cool. Like people keep that in mind, like if you see another like gay couple, like they probably want to be your friend.
Exactly. So that's amazing. That's great advice. So shifting gears a little bit, you've been in
Yeah.
Whidbey Island for 4 years and you're gonna be there for 4 more.
Yes.
What's your favorite thing to do or a place to go around Whidbey?
Thrifting. I love thrifting. I'm sorry. I have like an addiction to thrifting. And Washington is probably going to be the best state so far from like all the places that I've been to, has been one of the best states to thrift because everyone here thrifts. So like it's so cool. And there's a lot of old people. So they like
Yeah.
donate a lot of things. So it's
They
like
donate
great.
all their cool stuff,
Yeah, they do.
huh?
And
That's
I'm here for
amazing.
it. But I keep going. I'm here for another 4 years.
Oh my God. So, how's the community vibe over there? Do you feel close knit to the other spouses? Because you said that 98% of the people in that island are military affiliated. So, is it
Yeah.
kind of like a close knit, or is it more of so just everybody does their own thing? What's the vibe?
Yeah. I think that it's like 50-50. So I think that what I've learned, and this is like one of those things where like as a kid, I never like this didn't exist, but as of like now, as I'm at this generation where we're at, it's time of being, social
Hmm.
media is a big thing, right?
Yeah.
So we have Facebook pages where it's just for military spouses, and it's even designated to zones of where you live if you live in military housing. And here in Whidbey Island, there's three different areas of where they have divided military housing being or four areas, I believe it is. One, two, three, four. Yeah, four. And they also have individual Facebook pages. And I think that people are really open to communicating there, like with sharing things that they don't need anymore. But I think it's really hard to still create and find friendships. I think as an adult, right? In general, it's really
Hmm.
hard to make friends.
Hmm.
So I think that it's also really hard to make friends here unless you've met them at work or unless you are their neighbor and they see you and they make the first step of wanting to make a conversation with you. So I think that if you're an open person and you're someone that talks, like that can be like an extrovert, I feel like
Yeah.
it's going to be easy for you. But if you're an introvert, then I think it can be tough if the person, like if you don't put yourself out there.
No, I 1000% agree. Dominic and I, we lived over there in Whidbey
Mhm.
Island for 3 years. I completely agree with you. Even though 98% of the personnel in Whidbey Island are military affiliated, and there's so many spouses and there's so many like military affiliated organizations, it's still so hard to find your specific people because not everybody vibes, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody gets your sense of humor. Not everybody agrees with what you agree in. You know what I'm saying? So even though it's such close-knit thing, it's still so hard as an adult and as a military spouse to find your people,
Hmm.
especially which is a running theme in this podcast. You'll see once it premieres. You just feel isolated regardless of, where you're at because you move every 2 to 3 years. You get your
Hmm.
feet wet the first 6 months to a year, right? You're trying to get
Yeah.
your feet wet. And then the second year that you're there, you're trying to find your people, trying to find your groove. And then the last year, you finally have a close knit set group of people, and then you leave. And it's like this
Yeah.
cycle. It's this constant cycle.
Yeah. It's
But
like the same thing as kids, like I mentioned before, like,
exactly.
the same thing.
And it's so sad. It's
It
so
is.
sad.
It
It's the
sucks.
kids.
It sucks because you create these friendships with people and like you become like for instance like besties and then they
Yeah.
have to move and it sucks because like you try to think of like when's going to be the time that I'm going to be able to see them again unless I like put in the effort to go and try to see them or they come try to see me would probably be the only way or if we get stationed again together if they're still in because I think that that's another thing where people that their spouses end up getting out.
Yeah.
So then that makes it tough because then they start to do their own thing and then they just kind of like forget the
Hmm.
military life from like the military community in a sense of way. But yeah, it's tough.
No, absolutely. So what's something that you wish people knew about life in a small island like Whidbey Island?
I think that they should remember or they should like keep in mind that there are other people that are struggling through the same thing. Obviously in different levels, but that there's other people that do want to create friendships and do understand what you're going through and can be there for you, but you also have to put in that effort.
Absolutely. That's so nice. That's really great advice. So, shifting gears back on the military aspect of things. So, how do you handle the ups and downs of military schedules and deployments in general?
Therapy.
I
Therapy.
think all of us go to therapy.
Therapy and medicine. Those are the two things, okay? Yeah.
That's
Those
funny.
are like the two things that like help me get through it. Yeah, I think that that's definitely what helps because
Therapy and medicine.
like if you're lucky enough to have your family nearby you, then amazing. Good like it's going to be great for you because
Yeah.
it'll suck for the first couple of months, but you have family to fall back on. But if you're going to a new place where you don't have any family members, then I think that makes it really tough because you don't have any resources or you believe you don't have any resources
Yeah.
because there is resources. The military does give resources for spouses. I think there's
Yep.
classes for certain commands where they like
Hmm.
kind of prep the spouses in advance and like what to
The
expect.
USO.
And yeah, yeah, they give them
Hmm.
really good resources. And I think that a lot of us don't either are too shy to go or don't know they exist.
Exactly.
So
I didn't
yeah,
know they existed when we got here.
yeah,
I
me
just thought
neither.
that I didn't know that they existed in general. Like, I
Yeah,
just thought that we just got here, we chilled for 2 to 3 years, and then we left. I didn't know that there was like a good support system for spouses. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest issues. They just don't know they exist.
yeah. You don't know they exist, or your spouse doesn't know they exist, so they don't tell you, right? But
Wow.
I feel like there's really people think that because from other spouses that I've heard, their spouses didn't even know it really exists, or
That's
maybe
true.
they did know because I feel like they do tell the spouses, but maybe the spouses forget.
That's
So that
probably
could
one
be,
of the, yeah, that's most
yeah,
likely the, yeah,
because
because
I
I
know they
feel
give
like,
them a pamphlet. I know they give
yeah,
them a
when they
pamphlet.
check in.
Yeah.
When they check in into the command, they give you a whole bunch of different
Yep.
resources, but the
Mhm.
spouse just forgets to tell the other spouse that, hey,
Yeah.
this is for you.
Yep.
We're just raw dogging it in here. No.
Nope.
So what helped you build a community and avoid feeling isolated while your spouse was deployed?
I think that when my spouse first went on deployment, she actually was like, she's super great. And I'm going to tell you that not everyone is the same way,
Yeah.
but she's really good about providing me resources and like giving me the papers because she's like, here, this is all you need. Like, read all these things and
Must
you
be
have
nice,
like
girl. Must be nice.
kind of tired. But she's like really she gets really bad anxiety. So her
Oh,
anxiety
okay.
is towards me because she's just like, I need to make sure that you know everything. But I think that when she first went on deployment, she told me about like at going on to I think it's like no, it's an email, I think it is. But you basically sign up for like these newsletters, and there's basically someone who's called like the ombudsman of every
Mm-hmm.
command.
Mm-hmm.
When they go on deployment, they're able to like give you updates of like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we're expecting. These are things that you guys can do along the way. So I joined one of those groups. One of them was on Facebook, but they also had email newsletters. And they go through this list like pretty often. So they make sure that if your spouse isn't to that command anymore, they'll basically kick you out.
Yeah.
But I think that it was really great because I was able to get updates and also know that there was other spouses that had probably the same questions that I did, but had the effort to put it out there and ask the
Yeah.
question. So it was great. I think that was awesome.
That's amazing. That's great advice and information for any future spouses out there that, their spouses are deployed, but they don't have the resources, nor do they know about the resources. I think that's really great.
Yeah.
So, do you think that being a parent adds a new layer to this military life? I know that you said that you already knew, like,
Mhm.
what to expect whenever you did get married to your spouse, but like explaining moves and duty stations and why is, the other parent gone for so long?
Yeah, 100%. It makes it harder.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to say that it's any less than for couples that don't have any kids, but for the couples that do have kids, and we only have one,
Yeah.
so it's still tough, but I can't imagine how tough it would be if you had more than one
Yeah.
because you have to navigate the different age that they each are. But like you're struggling with school enrollments, you're struggling with, especially if your spouse already left and you're having to do that move by yourself. Like you
Mm-hmm.
have to do all these things yourself. That is 100% harder. And my kudos to them because I've, knock on wood, haven't had to deal with that yet. But I've heard of other people that have had to deal with that where their spouse is on deployment or detachment or at school. And the spouse has to do the school enrollment, has to figure out when the movies are going to come and scheduling them when they're going to come in and pack stuff and then take stuff, right? But on
Mm-hmm.
top of that, if you're renting a home or you're owning a home, like that adds another layer of the whole
Stress.
move, the whole stress. But when you have kids, it's like not only are you trying to figure all these things out yourself, but you're also trying to navigate their feelings and emotions because it's a struggle for them. You know, it's a shock for them. Like, oh, we have to leave again. Like, I like this place or I like my school. I like
Right.
my friends. So, like, you have to really like sit there and try to talk to them. But the schools also have a really good resource. Like, they also give really good resources for kids that are in the military. So I think that helps a lot. That helped at least for me because they have like a separate therapist for them or a counselor for them where they actually check in with them pretty often and they'll go over like how are they feeling and do these things. Or my son was given like a packet and it was like kind of like a treasure hunt or like a really cool fun things. But again, my kid at that time, he was younger. So I feel like if you're a parent of like preteens and teens, like I can't even imagine like you're
Yeah,
gonna get
right?
sass from them. They're gonna be extremely upset that they have to start at
Yeah.
a different school when they've probably already made their connections or if they're in sports or any of that sort of thing. So it's 100% tougher as a parent.
And so shifting gears a little bit, I know that the government is still shut down, but most service members got paid this past Wednesday. However, the government is still technically shut down. So
Yeah.
what's your tradition or routine that keeps your family grounded in certain uncertain times like these?
Yeah, I think with finances, I think it's definitely great to have a savings because we have a
Mm-hmm.
savings and what my spouse has done, at least, and she's really good with finances, is every time she's gotten a bonus when she's re-enlisted, she puts that bonus 100% into a savings account. Sometimes we'll use a little bit to pay off like credit cards or whatever the case might be, but a lot of that goes into a savings, and it's for cases like this, in
Mhm.
case, like, we don't know if she's going to get paid or whatnot. But I also know that there's the Navy Marines Relief Society
Yeah.
also helps. So I think
Mhm.
that if we were ever feeling like we didn't have any savings to back up and our parents weren't great enough to help us, then that's probably what we would have done, is gone to the Navy Marine Relief Society to
That's
ask
true.
for a loan.
I know that Navy Federal and sometimes USA, and I think USAA is giving out like loans for
Yeah,
service members. But I think personally, I think that's insane to me because military service members are essential workers, and I think that essential workers should get paid no matter what happens.
I
Um,
agree. And I think that the people in Congress shouldn't get paid.
a point,
Yep.
point blank, period. Because I think that if essential workers are not getting paid, then essentially they're not essential workers and they should just go home. I don't think that they
Yep.
should get made to go into work and not get paid. But
Yep.
that's just my opinion. But
No,
for
I completely agree. And I think that at like whatever belief that any person has,
mhm,
right or left, whatever the case might be.
mhm,
But at the end of the day, I feel like we're probably all on the same page of like, you don't get paid, if we don't get paid, and if you have kids especially, it's like a level of anxiety where you're like shoot, like we need to feed our kids,
yeah,
and so I think that it's really unfair that they don't prioritize that. And thankfully, our spouses got paid.
yeah,
But if and typically that's not usually the case. So like this is
that's not.
something like that's like the first time that it's happened.
Mhm,
But if it wasn't the case, like it's like super stressful. But basically there's food banks, there's places to go, and I think that if it were to come to the case where we really didn't get paid for that much and we needed to get food, that's probably the next step that I also would have taken.
okay. That's amazing. No, that's honestly one of the things that we did just in case we didn't get paid. I think we got a loan from Navy Fed, which I think it's crazy within itself that we, got a loan
Yeah.
because essential workers should essentially get paid. But thankfully we were paid on Wednesday and hopefully military service members get paid this upcoming paycheck as well.
I think it should forever be that way.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens, girl. Now, what is one thing you love most about military life and one thing you changed if you could?
But I think that it would be letting service members go back and not making such of a pushback when their family members or family relatives are like at the hospital or going through any medical uncertainties, like when, like, it's kind of a broad thing, but when I've heard from other people that their spouse's grandpa died and they wanted to go back and see them, but they couldn't because the military was like, if they're not your direct family member, like if they're not your
Mm,
spouse, there's no way you're gonna go. So I think that if they would change that to where if it's like someone that they really like really did cherish, if it's an aunt, an uncle, a cousin, whatever the case might be,
mhm.
that they allow them to go and be given time off to do that. So I think that that would be really great. Don't know if that would ever happen, but that would be great. Something that I love, I would say using my 10% discount when I go to
Heck
places.
yeah! She said benefits.
10%. Yeah, I think that's exactly what I love. Okay. There's some perks like aside from 10%, okay? But there's like, credit cards that give you certain things. And I think that's
Like
amazing.
The Amex Platinum card, no
Yes,
annual.
with no annual fees, and that they gave you like
Oh
Lululemon
my God,
credit,
yeah, the
like
Lululemon, like, isn't it
$75.
$75?
Yep, I
$75.
already used it.
You used
Yep.
it? I
Yeah,
haven't used it. I haven't used it yet.
you have to. I think you're supposed
Okay.
to use it before the end of this month, and then I think it's every 3 months you get $75.
Oh
I
my
think it's
God.
every 3 months. Yeah.
I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna use it.
Yep.
So, so just to wrap this up, what message do you want to leave for anyone listening who might feel unseen or out of place in the military community?
I think that the best resource to go to would be either reaching out to other spouses and
Mm-hmm.
going and putting yourself into these groups. I think that's one of the biggest things that's going to help you because you're going to see other people that are struggling with the same exact thing that you are probably struggling, or listen to this podcast.
I know that's right, girl. This podcast is meant for every military spouse seeking connection and to just feel less alone, you know? I just want anybody listening to this podcast to just sit down with a cup of coffee and just have me on your background if you want me to, girl. Or if you just need a friend who's in Whidbey Island, you can find her here. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Or in San Antonio, I'm here. So it's all about making connections and meaningful friendships.
yeah,
So yeah, so thank you so much, Miss Julia, for joining me today on this very special episode of the Base Buddies
of
podcast.
course.
Yeah, and just stay tuned,
Next
everybody, for the
one.
next episode. We're gonna have another very special guest. All of my guests are special. So yeah, see you next time. Bye, guys.